The Dane and Derek Show is an uncensored, unfiltered podcast. Content warnings can be found in the episode description. Hello everyone, welcome back to Dane and Derek. I'm Derek, as usual. I always intro the show, except for when Dane hijacks the show. And today, every once in a while, yeah. And today we have a very special guest. Well, first, wait, Dane, you need to introduce yourself first.
Yeah, hi, I'm here. We do have a special guest.
Yes, a very
Will,
special
would you like
guest.
to introduce yourself?
Oh, you just said my name, Dane.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay.
But that doesn't mean anything. Like,
That's true.
I mean, it means something, but it's not like that doesn't convey you, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Of course, yeah.
yeah.
Well, yes, hello. I'm Will, and I'm first and foremost a huge fan of the Dane and Derek pod. I'm serious. I listen to the show every time it comes out, so I'm absolutely thrilled to be on as a special guest. This is great. I'm like getting a live taping of a sneak peek of an episode.
Yeah, I mean that's true, and also you have lived this sort of thing for years.
Yeah.
Like on the one hand, it's like, yeah, you're behind the curtain, and I'm like, yeah, and you've been in the car with us before.
Yeah, true. I've had like a front row seat to many Dane and Derek pods that were never recorded.
Yeah.
They were just sort of spoken into the ether, never to be repeated again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Many late nights after a film festival meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In the cold.
In the cold. Having lost a car. Yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
Yo, yeah. Poor
goodness.
Appa.
Good times. Good times.
Were they though? They were good times.
Yeah.
They were good times with you. I felt like a dumbass. How long have we known Will? Because I've known Will since I want to say sophomore, junior year of high school for me. So I guess that's that's going on 10 years, Will.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, don't think about it too hard.
I mean, for me, it's kind of weird because, Will, I knew your brother George in first grade.
True.
So by de facto, I've like been around you, seen your family. I remember when Tom was born.
Yeah, I mean, we've been virtually neighbors. Since forever,
quite a while. But I would say, my freshman into sophomore year, or maybe it was sophomore year. It was somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
Must have been when we actually began to like hang out because you were in my Eagle Scout project.
Exactly. Yeah. So when did you do the like recreation, the whole like reenactment?
That must have been like 20, because the movie came out 2012, which means we must have filmed that 2011.
Wow.
2012. Yes. Somewhere in between 2011 and 2012 was when.
What was the name of that? Like, do you remember that train yard that had all those like beautifully like restored and preserved like?
I want to say it was like the Golden Train Museum or something like that.
I would bet that's it, because I can't. I loved that place as a little kid, so I can't think of anything else that would have those. Yeah,
because it was in Golden, but it was on Denver or Broomfield property. It was a super strange. It's like right on county lines somewhere in Golden.
Probably Jefferson County.
Jefferson County train, whatever, something. Yeah,
okay.
There we go.
I know these.
Yeah.
JCWS, Jefferson County Train, whatever, or something.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly the name of it. Yeah, we got
so
it like
over 10 years for you guys then.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah, well over.
Well over.
Yeah.
Which is also now thinking about that like Eagle Scout project and everything is a little bittersweet because of what happened to the museum in Old Town Superior.
Yeah.
It burned, didn't it?
Yeah, with the fire.
Yeah.
Oh, God damn.
Which is like a total not to bring a downer immediately onto.
I mean it happened.
I
mean, it's something that we haven't talked in too much detail about on the show, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, our hometown burned down,
Yeah.
which is surreal, and like I laugh a little bit because it's still impossible to fathom.
Uh-huh.
And like having watched it from afar and having to constantly just like figure out what's going on, I think was pretty
Mm-hmm.
pretty wild. And to think that it's just gone.
True.
You know, all these places, you know, we knew we would hang out, the museum, like,
I
yeah,
mean, Marshall.
Marshall, yeah.
Yeah, all the way over there. Like,
Yeah.
but honestly, that's why like something like that reenactment and those like that all that archival interview work you did, that's why that stuff is so important, right? Is because you never know when the physical remnants are going to be completely gone, and so all you have left are like the stories to
Yeah.
document and to hold on to. And honestly, as silly as it sounds, that's why something like, you know, like a podcast like this is great, because these memories then get, you know, held on to for something.
No,
Yeah.
you're right, definitely. That's because like, and I think that's one cool thing. And Will, you've studied history more than Derek and I, so you can probably speak really well to this. But I would imagine that the wealth of records has just exploded, right?
Oh yeah.
Like in probably both a good way and an extremely overwhelming way.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Oh yeah, I mean, there's so much material now, you know, online and everything like that, and it's kind of matched up a little bit because, like, as more material is created, you know, human beings have, you know, it's easier to hold on to it because it's all like it's files, it's all digital, it's not like boxes and boxes of like physical scraps of paper in a warehouse.
yeah.
But at a certain point, it's like you have to make decisions of what to hold on to and what not to, and then that becomes a whole ethical dilemma.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So, but one thing that will certainly be preserved for all time is Heroics 101, the complete series.
It won't die. It will not
Which
die.
honestly, if you actually do think about it, contains a lot of sweeping shots of like areas that might not actually be there anymore.
Yeah, in both Superior and Louisville because of the flood.
Yeah.
Which is wild to think that a lot of the old movies we made are like contain a look at the place we grew up that doesn't exist.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. And I'll admit, because I'm still here, so I drive around sometimes. Like I think it was last weekend, I went down to downtown Louisville just to get a drink, and I ended up just by chance driving through not too far from Monarch. And there's just like a whole section that's just leveled. It's just gone. And also just it doesn't like Louisville and Superior just do not look the same way that they did when we were in high school. Like even that like 8 or 9 years that it's been has really changed it. And I don't know. I'm not going to go so far as to like say for the better or worse, but just different. You know,
Yeah.
there are certain sections of it that are much more I don't know if big box store is the right term, but strip mall-y, you know, like and like, you know, it was right on the end of becoming what Superior and Louisville are, which is like places for parents that are pretty upscale. And when we were in high school, and then now it's like that is what it is, like completely. I have a good friend out in Boulder here, and he says, you know, like Louisville and Superior are great if you're like 35 to 45 or you're 10 and under, and for everybody else it sucks. And I was like, yeah, that's right, and I was with our friend Clara getting dinner in Louisville because it's where her parents still are, and I saw the street fair going on. I was like, oh yeah, if you're not an angsty like middle schooler or high schooler, that's just the best. I was like,
yeah, like if I was like a young parent and I wanted to just stroll down to like some like little street fair with music and stuff, I'd be in paradise over there.
Yeah, and it's like so fucking safe and it's great. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. Like I can't live here for, you know, I guess I'd have to have a kid and be 35, I guess. But, for
Yeah.
now, I guess I'm banned, but whatever. Good for these people.
Yeah, I mean, it was like strange because I worked at the Louisville Public Library for a little while.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, Dane, you can relate as a librarian.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, it was weird because I felt like I'm really living someone else's dream right now, because it's like, I work at the library, I live in this small town, I can like walk 5 minutes from my parents' house down the street to go do my library job and back.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was like, maybe it sounds mean to say, but it's like, if I was like a retiree, this would be like my utopia, like paradise.
Yeah, no, it'd be fucking great.
But I was like, 22, 23, just graduated college, and I was like, felt like my brain was turning into mush in my skull.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm so bored.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely relate. So like I did library work between going back to school and graduating, and that mush feeling I completely relate to, because honestly, if you don't get the library science master's degree, you're not really doing all that much.
Mm-hmm.
In a library system, you're not making like complex decisions or really working on projects. You're just kind of making the place run, in various
Yeah.
ways, and maybe you get some small stuff. But the thing I was remembering is like, as I'm kind of like having left it behind, I quit at the beginning of July. I was like, yeah, this is probably why I was so perfectly happy to be editing like 4 hours of audio a week and writing all the time and all of this, because I was like, if I didn't do that, I think I would have just lost
Yeah.
my mind,
Because
Yeah.
you at least, yeah, because then you feel like you're doing something, right? Like anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's like funny, and I don't know how you feel about this, Will, and I think Derek might have experienced almost the opposite, but like, I don't know if you felt any sort of like, you didn't have enough time to like feel any like listlessness, because
Mm.
you went straight into a master's almost, right?
Yeah, I kind of tried to like cut off the listlessness before it set in too intensely.
Yeah. Do not recommend. I do not recommend it. Yeah, I don't know. It was weird.
And yeah, and honestly, I feel like another thing that stopped that was like, I had like, when COVID happened, it was like a little taster of listlessness. Like it was like
Uh-huh.
a a free trial, like a 30-day. Here's what it would feel like if you have no idea what you're going to do for the rest of your life, and you're just kind of like kicking the tires.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of like made me take a look at like, oh, okay, what is it that I want to do? Like, or not even what is it I want to do, because I've always had a mentality of like, what I do doesn't necessarily define who I am, but like have a idea of like, where do I want to live? Who do I want to spend my time with? Like, what are the things I want out of my life, and to maybe start making it happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Totally. And I mean, Derek, I think you did a really good job with this, which is, wasn't it you graduated from Boston and you just moved to LA?
Yeah, but I mean, I had very different circumstances. I think if I could have done it again, I would have taken a little bit more time.
Mm.
But I had signed a lease, and I had the next month's rent, which was $600.
Oh,
And that's
whoa.
all I had to my name. So me getting back to LA to get a job within that month was imperative.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of pressure on me to kind of figure it out. So yeah, I basically just went back to Colorado for like 2 weeks, packed up some more stuff, said goodbye to my family and some friends, and then left. And immediately started job hunting in LA. But yeah, I mean, that was a strange summer too, because it was like, both months I barely made $600 to pay rent, which didn't mean I had anybody for groceries or gas, which was a nightmare. Uh, but during that time, I did realize like I needed to do something with my time, so I started planning to make another movie, despite being broke, uh, which ended up working out because then I got a job, um, that I then quit, and then I got another job shortly after. So I ended up getting a little bit of money to like cover some debts, pay the rent. And then I was like, oh, and there's like $200 here for pizza to make a movie. I could do that before I start my other job, which ended up working out. But yeah, I mean, I didn't. I guess I didn't have that much time to really get listless about it and to like feel like nothing. That more happened once I realized, like, oh, I've been scrubbing the same camera for 2 years. Like, I need to think about what I want to do after that because it's been 2 years of the same. Um, and I think,
yeah,
you know,
and I think that's totally valid too, though, because it's like you can feel listless and be doing a lot of stuff. Like you can be like, you know, making a lot of films and like working in the industry, doing all the stuff you want to do, and then have a moment where you're like, oh, but what am I actually like doing? And let me think about, like, let me be more deliberate with what I'm doing.
Exactly. Yeah. Like there's definitely that moment of realizing like, oh, I've put a lot of energy out there, but it's just kind of out there. Like you said, well, it's not focused. It's not directed anywhere at one particular thing. So
deliberate's a good word.
Yeah. Deliberate is definitely a good word.
Though, Derek, it's funny you said I wanted to make a movie even though I had no money, and I was like, that never stopped us before. Dear God,
it never did. But you know, in college, it stopped me quite a bit. It stopped me quite a bit in college. But after college, I was like, sky's the limit. Like I got no one to impress anymore.
True, good point. Yeah,
I got no teachers to impress, no classmates to get teared apart by. I can kind of just make anything. But that was also after like working an internship where my boss had said some pretty I don't know if they're inspiring, but he had said some things to me that made me go, okay, yeah, I gotta try again. Just in terms of like taking
what did he
risks.
say? You can't just lead in like that.
Yeah, you can't leave that out there.
He was basically like my one advice to you is to take more risks while you're in your 20s. And at the end of that development rung, because I'd pretty much given up on directing by that point, I was kind of like, I need to give directing another shot. And I walked out of that internship declaring I was going to try again. And then 3 months later, I made another movie on pizza money. So there you go.
Hey.
And was that the pizza movie that you made on pizza money?
No, unfortunately.
Interesting.
That was the moving movie I made that I don't know if anyone's seen. It didn't do a festival run. It just kind of quietly ended up on the internet, but
it's out there.
It's out there.
For completionists who want the full Aiello criterion filmography.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
They should go seek it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that for those completionists out there, I would go no further back than Heroics, though.
Oh, that's as far back as you can go these days.
You've scrubbed. Any other?
Oh, I've slowly curating it over the years. But don't worry. If you're really in the know, you can find these things.
I'm sure.
Basically means if you have my logins, you can find these things.
You gotta keep Heroics 101 up there. You gotta keep Goddamn It Jane. You gotta keep Bros of the Realm. Like that all has to stay. I feel like that is vital for like understanding your like, you know, filmography, like your body of work.
I mean, it is where we came from in a lot of ways. It was like the big break, the first project that kind of felt like a movie, like the first few at least, you know?
I mean, it was certainly the first thing I'd ever been a part of where like I don't want to say like we took ourselves seriously, but like we went about it in as professional a way as like 14, 15, 16-year-olds can in making a thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
we tried.
Yeah.
We tried. Is the thing.
We tried. We had a schedule. We had a calendar. We had deadlines.
I mean, I remember Dane like acting as producer, and that was like such a novel concept to me. To be like, oh yeah, I guess like someone should probably think about something like that.
Yeah. Someone should think about these details, these coordination details, and when we're going to show up and how we're going to do something. Yeah.
I remember the first time I begged you to have a shot list, Eric. And I was and I was like so lax about it too. Like I was like, I don't care what it is. Just write it down in my notebook for me.
Yeah.
Just something, anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely helped a lot.
Because the day I demanded to be Derek's producer is the day I met you, Will. Like actually met you.
Oh yeah.
Because it was the first heroics I came to help Derek on, and I was just doing like extra work and like carrying stuff around. And I hit you in the stomach with a foam hammer, I think.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
yeah,
also
you were
the
playing
day,
like
yeah,
henchman number 3 or something.
yeah. It's also the day I met Taylor because I was mostly tied up to her and literally dragged her around with me all day.
Yeah.
And that was also the day I was like, Derek, I gotta do that. Like for my
Episode
brain.
2 was very disorganized because by that point we had shot episode 1, 3, and 4, and then we were shooting 2 for some reason.
Oh yeah. Also,
Go
that's
ahead,
like
Will.
so many. That's like so many TV series are like that in the first season. It's like, and it's so weird because it's unlike anything else because it's the only like heroics episode that takes place during like winter or like fall.
Yeah. There's snow on the ground. Everyone's freezing. Like everyone's wrapped up in blankets, and like it's also like the first one with the new costumes.
That's
Where
right.
we
Yeah.
abandoned the classic green and black wizard robe and we switched them out for the red and blue.
Oh
The
gosh.
many costume changes that would go, the many cut T-shirts,
The many
Yes.
T-shirt,
Yes.
yeah.
and it's the first one with the new sword. I think I think we swapped this. I forget.
Perhaps. Yeah.
We changed a lot of things between that episode and the later episode, and we changed a lot.
Well,
At the
and
yeah.
well, one of the big changes eagle-eyed viewers will know is that henchman number 3 ended up being um what was your character? Osiris?
Yes.
Osiris, the Lord of
The
Scoundrels.
Lord of
Yes.
Scoundrels.
Yeah.
A Dane Fogdel in front of the camera.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Because that was part of it, right? Is that there was no, like, everybody was all hands on deck, right? Because you know, we had to be, and Will, like you were saying about like it was like the first thing you'd been on where like we were trying. I will also say it's probably one of the first things I might have done in collaboration with people, wherein not only was there that, but it was entirely self-generated, and it also got finished, right?
Yes,
Like,
that's a huge thing. Yeah.
like say what you will about what heroics is. It's sweet and funny and means the world to me.
Oh yeah, I treasure it. I absolutely treasure it.
But the actual miracle of it is that it exists at all. Like literally, it's
and yeah, like freaking like 12 episodes of it exist. Like that's
little
crazy.
bonus things and yeah,
it's in a book.
Yeah, it is.
It's
in
a book.
list of.
It's in a history of web shows.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's referenced. Like our names are in a book.
Love that.
Yeah,
definitely love that. But
it's quite funny.
I just think that's cool, and it was, and you know, Will, you're right. Like we were trying enough. Like there was enough going on that even though like it was all hands on deck. So like if I was an extra, I was going to be an extra. People also had roles, you know, like you were like you played the main character, you starred, right? So like you did a lot less of like not moving junk. Everybody moved the exact same amount of junk, but like you did not hold the boom pole as much, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and like there was some of that, right? Like, and by the end, I mean, we would get people on who their whole thing was just to be crew.
Yeah.
You know? And that felt great. That felt fucking awesome because suddenly there was a person whose whole job was to just hold the boom or go get a thing or whatever. It was great.
Well, I remember you still, I don't know if Derek, if you remember, but you wrote like a reunion episode, right? Like a retrospect, like
I did, yeah.
A couple years in the future.
I did, yeah. I wrote like a 4-page like like the characters reflect. It's like a time skip, like fast forward kind of ending. I don't know where that is. I totally forgot about that. It's supposed to be at the tree, which, oh man, that tree. I don't even know if that tree's there anymore. Probably not.
It might not be.
because that for the longest time, like that area we used to film, like, oh god, the poor grass in that area still had our body prints. Like for years later, like going back in college, I would still see where freaking like people would fall and lie down on that grass, and it was just like you could see our body prints, and I was like, wow, we accidentally did a lot of environmental harm, but holy crap, it's wild to see that mark, you know, on the world, especially with that tree and stuff.
And I mean, we also did a bunch of like random stuff, and we like tried things. You know, we tried to film in Chautauqua, and then instead we filmed at Marshall, and you know, that was the day we learned the difficulties of really shooting in snow. Because I think we got Will, didn't you tackle me into the snow one time?
Yeah.
And then you and I were like, nope, you're not doing this.
Yeah, literally. Yeah,
we'll die if we try and like film for 10 more minutes.
And I remember like I was like so like delirious because I'd stayed up all night hand sewing these bath rugs into what I called the winter costumes, which were like the fake faux fur that I was like, oh, these will keep them warm. Not at all. That was like, because it was like what we didn't account for was the wind factor and the fact that it was going to be 0 degrees the next day.
And also like Osiris's costume was literally just like thin, like almost like Halloween costume, like
and it was like sandals, I think.
Yes, you were barefoot or something. I don't know why. Like I don't know why I dressed you like that, because that costume changed a lot too. But it's
commitment to the craft.
If anything, I'm glad that the clip that we got from that ended up.
Oh, great clip! Yeah,
in an episode. I'm glad because remember we did that clip show episode.
Yep.
which also was like so many TV shows. Like they have like a clip show episode.
Yeah. It's funny because like there were so many things that were born out of like, oh, we don't have time to do a whole episode today, or oh, we need to do another episode because we're not gonna be able to film for like 2 more months. And that clip show was born out of that because we were like, oh, we need to do another episode because we don't have time before now and the finale, so we need to do a clip show with all these unused clips and footage. And then like also like the young Oren and Tal episodes, which
there were like 2 of them, right?
Yeah, there's 2 episodes of those. The first one though was born out of because you were sick, Will. Like you had like a cough that day or something, and then like we were like, okay, well, like I think you mentioned like, oh yeah, Charlie's around. And I was like, oh, my brother knows Charlie. Oh, we could make Charlie and my brother the young versions of these characters.
Because they're the young versions of you and the young versions of me, literally.
Yeah. Yeah, even though it was Sean.
Yeah.
And it would have been, it was still funny, though.
That's also really funny to watch back on Dane's first appearance because Sean had just got his wisdom teeth removed.
Oh my god, that's right. Oh god.
And he's got like these giant like hamster gerbil cheeks for the whole episode.
Oh, I remember that. He was like don't say anything.
He's such a fucking champ for that.
He was, he really nailed that. Cuz that was a big Sean episode. That was like pretty much all Sean.
He had a lot. Because the whole issue really is that I'm kind of off messing around or whatever, and it's Tal and Osiris are having a whole like back and forth.
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
And then isn't it like at the end, like that's when Oren shows up and like gets the credit
as usual, like as in classic fashion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what Heroics was special, and then we did like. God Damn It, Jane was sort of was one where Will was pretty heavily involved, and then what was the working one we did, Will? Because that was so much fun.
It was just called Working.
Right. It was just called Work.
Yeah, Work. Yeah. I need to find that. I need to upload some of these things to the internet so you guys can have them like a physical file. Because I don't know if you guys have those.
No, I adored doing work with you, because it was by the end of that shoot, I think it was literally just you and me, and we would like start the camera shot and then we'd go sit down, do the scene, and then do the reverse shot, kind of back and forth.
I think we were at like my dad's office or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really fun. And that was like, I remember being very excited about doing that one with you, because as much as like Heroics was kind of like a kind of bigger production and a lot was going on, all of that was, no offense, Derek, it was all kind of spectacle. Like it was all like, oh, we're gonna like have costumes and props and
Oh yeah,
do
yeah, yeah.
stuff. And like
Definitely.
work was like maybe the first time I'd sat down to do a movie in a more serious way, like you said, and it got finished and all of that good stuff. But it was all based around a script where I was like, oh, on paper, without being acted or without the charming like silliness, this is actually funny. You know,
Yeah.
like the writing, like, because you wrote it so much better than, um, you know, it was the best written thing I'd gotten to be a part of so far. You know,
Yeah.
and that was super fun for me, and why I was like so excited to do it. I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny now to watch back on all that stuff, because also, you know, the whole reason that I then got involved with doing that was because you guys knew me through Heroics, so you were like, come be a part of this. It was what, like the 24-hour film
Yeah,
Oh
competition or
yeah.
something?
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because we went and did that, and that was someone else's film. I remember
Yeah.
because Derek, you and I did a bunch of. We basically did crew stuff for somebody else,
I was
and
in the movie.
yeah, and you were heavily in the movie, and I did the
Yeah.
music for it.
Yep.
And we got Will to come be a part of it, and then I don't remember if you started that year or
It was actually it was like a little unorthodox because I was there
right.
and we kind of just like we had such a good time doing it.
Yeah,
And then Ruth, who used to run Biff,
Mm-hmm.
or the youth, like the youth council part of it, the program council,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was
she
Yak.
just said like, oh, do you want to, would you want to be a part of this? Like, would you want to just like keep coming in every week?
Yeah, because a couple of people had also dropped out, so there was plenty
Yeah.
of space. So
Yeah, so I never actually like interviewed or applied in the same way that like Sam Cast or Sam Schrag later or like Maya Caulfield, like that they did.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, that was great, and I loved doing the film festival with you guys. That
Yeah.
was them are special car rides.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
yes. Like the thing I love most about it wasn't like the actual, almost not even really, the actual festival itself, but like the going to and the coming from and like everything around it, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because it was like the one space we had to like really just be friends outside of film in a
Oh
way,
yeah.
you know?
And
Because school was busy and film was busy.
yeah, and it was always like, working on a next thing. And so to
Yeah.
have these like moments in between.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, especially like just speaking to my own experiences, I'm like a little bit younger than you guys. And so that was just like hugely informative for me to be like, to get to hang out with you guys who I viewed as like established, like creative people who have like a sense, which is now funny to say now because but at the time I was like in awe a little bit to be like, whoa, it's so cool. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna get together after school. We're gonna commute and hang out and whatever. Was like
Yeah.
really cool. Like as like a young freshman in high school.
I mean, yeah, I can totally like relate to that because like that's part of the reason the film festival was like so important to me is because Derek, you and Will, you guys joined like the year after I did, but there was a whole year where I just went myself. Um, and then I loved it so much that I was like, all right, everybody I fucking care about and like, come on, we're going.
Yeah.
But like there were a bunch of like seniors were doing similar things, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, and getting to be part of like a production and getting to go down and like be in Boulder, which while is, it's not that far from Louisville and Superior or whatever. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was nice to be like out and away.
Yes, absolutely.
And then during the festival, we just completely like cut loose to just be
Yeah.
like, you are now responsible for things. Do them,
You have a T-shirt and a lanyard you have like responsibility.
Yeah. No, it was and so then getting to do that, and then like there are all those parts to it, right? Like I can't remember how many times like you, me, and Derek or Clara would be there sometimes where we'd stop and get crap pizza, not on Pearl or whatever. Like, so there was like all these like other parts. Like, it was like the first time for me, at least, where I got to be, have like a semblance of independence almost, you know, where like for those hours, it was just us, you know, and we had a car. It was a bad car, but we had one, and we had a little bit of money. So we, you know, we kind of went back when we went back, and we would hang out for as long as we wanted, kind of. And you know, like you can, like in high school, you're hanging out with people, but a lot of times you kind of end up circling back to somebody's house, right? And in that case, you suddenly are under the roof of people's parents, and understandably they are like, there are some rules, you know. And so it was cool. I remember really enjoying that. It's very sweet of you to say that that was formative. And again, you're right, like it's like that is a little funny for you to have thought that we were so established, because like oh my god, we were not.
Yeah, we were a mess. But on the flip side, Will, you were probably the first actor I worked with, you know.
Yeah.
The first person who, you know, could act, could become a character, could improvise, could help rewrite something, and who could, you know, perform all a huge range of emotions, right? Because like in Heroics and other films we did, there's like moments where like you're sad, you're happy, you're funny, you're loud, you're crying, you're upset, you're, you know, like you're, you know. But going back to like, it's like there's such a wide range you had, and such a wide range of characters. Like you played everything from heroes to villains to best friends to main characters to that, you know, especially like in Work, you're like the antagonistic best friend to Dane, which was so funny because like that, you know, like I think you won 2 awards for that, right? Best comedy and best editing.
It was something like that when we did at the youth pavilion or whatever.
Yeah, which like, you know, like two. I mean, like yeah, I was pretty in awe of that as well. And like, you know, I look back fondly on those times of like, man, like, you know, it was definitely a great opportunity to work with someone like you back then.
Oh, well, that's I mean, I feel very similar. It's like, because, you know, it was a little easy, like playing like Oren, for example, in Heroics 101. There, I feel like there was so much of myself like already built in there, both like, you know, positives and negatives. And like, I mean, I'm sure like Dane, you can attest, like when we then recorded the podcast all those years later, like so much of Duncan is very similar to Oren.
Yeah, I sometimes like I so funnily enough, that whole arc that Saren is re-releasing right now, so I sometimes like check in and actually listen to it, and I'm like, yeah, Duncan is just sort of, sometimes I feel like Will finishing out Oren for himself on some level. I'm like,
just like closure to the arc.
Yeah, it's very sweet actually. So yeah, I agree with you about like some of that's you, and some of that at a certain point was the fact that Derek was writing with you in mind, of course.
Yeah, and then it all influences, you know, everything else. Which was another fun part about making all those movies, was because it was like you then start to tailor your movies. Oh, pun intended. You start to
we often did tailor to tailor. That is 100% true.
But you do, like, you start to write things like, oh, so and so would be great if like I could include a best friend character here, or I could have my other character be like a poet / musician / deeply thinking, feeling artist. And oh, that's great, I have Dane, he'll play that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I remember that's like, speaking to what Derek's talking about with like you, Will, where you actually had range. Like most of the people in our films did not. And so like we would really have to, all of us would have to customize, right? Like I think I could play sort of charming person or straight man, and that's all I could do, you know. And so
but sometimes when you get the best stuff is like when you have to be really wacky and out of your comfort zone, because
Yeah.
some of like, some of the pods we've recorded with Sam or anything like that, when like we play multiple characters and we have to jump around, that's like, I love listening to the ones where you're forced to be like a goofy over the top character, which is so not like your normal go-to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys, that's one of the things I do miss about the pod, is doing those very improvisational episodes with you and Sam, because you guys would, not in a bad way, I don't mean this, but you guys would back me into a corner of being like, yeah, all right, be funny. And like, almost at like gunpoint, I'm like, all right, fine,
Well, and similarly, like in the opposite direction as well, like Derek, when you wrote episodes that were more like tender or more like deeply feeling, like, and similar in the podcast, like then I would be backed into a corner in a good way to be like sincere and more emotional, which is something that like is harder for me to like act in, or like to sit in that feeling. And so like that stretches me more than like goofing around or anything like that, because I mean, I don't know, Dane, if you feel the same way, but like you and Taylor would often bring a lot of like you would bring the stakes, you'd bring the reality, and and Sam and I would often be like bring some brevity and like over the topness.
Yeah,
there is a
definitely.
reason why I think Saren, from the pod at least, ended up being like probably the most balanced straight through. Like I think I know we're talking about the movies, but like I think 11 Jump Gates might be quality wise better, just because of like audio, and we definitely knew way more what we were doing, and like we'd hit some real grooves and stuff. But like Saren as like a complete balanced story feels the best to me, is because of that. Because at the end of certain episodes, Taylor and I'd be like, all right, we're going to take the next 10 minutes to be emotional, and we're going to slowly bring you into that. Like I remember by the end of Saren, like I had backed Duncan into like an emotional love triangle corner where he had to like make some choices and like be honest with people, which was also sort of me backing you into that corner. It was very fun. But I do appreciate the period of time where we were all doing that together. And I know we probably got to wrap it up here pretty soon, but I do think that the thing, like just to go back to something I was saying earlier, is like the thing that is maybe the thing that I still look at and think of like, nope, that was genuinely impressive, is that we actually did stuff, and not just one thing, a lot of stuff all the time,
Oh yeah.
like that was kind of, I just like, if you actually like stack up all the little films we made and all of that, like it's kind of impressive. Like people like,
it's incredibly impressive. I feel like I have so many friends who maybe did like one little thing here or one little thing there, not like had like an established like almost studio framework of producing a film, in a consistent clip.
Yeah, it was like we would like release something like at least once a month, I think, at least. Yeah. And we definitely like every school break, we definitely film one or two things at least. Yeah. And like most like 3-day weekends, we try and steal a day for that. Like it was kind of crazy in a way. And
I mean, I completely like, I fully give credit to you, Derek, because I feel like, everyone helped out and got together and stuff, but in a way, it was like your singular, almost like force of will of like, I have to make movies because I don't know what else I would do. Like, there's nothing else that like appeals to me in the same way. So I'm going to be, even if it's just me alone with my camera, I'll be making a movie. And that sheer like strength of personality, I feel like so many people in our hometown kind of gravitated towards that. Mm-hmm. And it almost became like a impromptu community of people like helping out with these things, which is so rare. Like now that when I talk to people, I don't really know of anyone else that it happened like that. And I think it's like a real testament to your like ability to just kind of like, other people like admire that and kind of get involved because they see like you're so passionate about, creating in general.
I totally agree. And I mean, weirdly, in thinking back on it and chatting with Leah recently about kind of like some toxicity in the Monarch Theater department, I also remember that there was a bit of a backlash to it. Also, Derek, like,
Yeah.
because you did stuff, like you really did, and you pulled a lot of people along with you, and you weren't. That's the thing that I also want to like really lay at your feet, Derek, which is you were not jealous about it. You didn't want to just go on this adventure by yourself for yourself. You wanted to bring people along with you. There was always room on the production for someone if they wanted to.
Yeah. 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 Well, I think a lot about how, like, I think once I kind of found family, like chosen family through making movies, I think a big part of why so many things happened was because I really just wanted to keep that family together,
Mm.
But I always wanted to open that family up because, like, you know, I think it can be really difficult to make movies by yourself, because I think prior to Heroics, I pretty much was making movies with very few people, if not myself, and you know nobody really liked those movies. It was kind of hard, like kids would come up to me in school and be like, "Oh, you put another dumb video up on YouTube," and I'd be like, "Yeah, haha, yeah, sure, whatever, okay." Sure, whatever. I'm gonna, cool, man.
That's
And
great. Yeah, whatever.
yeah,
But you
whatever. And
but also it's like, but you watched it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you went
It's
on
like,
YouTube and you
took the
watched
time
it.
to watch it and then come up to me in school at my locker and
Yeah, like
tell me
what?
how much you hate it. Like, okay, cool, I'll take that. But then, like, like Heroics came around, and as the family grew, like, people like enjoyed this stuff. Like Heroics, it's one of the most viewed things on the channel.
Mm,
Wedding Crasher, Goddamn It Jane, Stupid Cupid, a lot of that stuff. People watched it. Like,
hmm
like it wasn't to be sneezed at, and like, um, I mean, like, we won an award for that first episode of Heroics, and I was like looking at it recently. I was like, oh wow, like we really did make like we made like not just one feature film while we were in high school. We made like several by
Oh yeah.
accident. Like it just kind of happened, and like I remember I did the math at one point before I went to college, and I was like, wow, we made like 150 plus movies before we graduated. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, we made a lot of stuff. Because yeah, we were just kind of living and breathing it all the time. And I
hmm
mean, I know for me that was definitely, I don't know, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you both for the kind words. I
Of,
really
well, I mean, of course,
Mhm.
appreciate that.
it's funny because I feel like there was a period there where I kind of like slacked off on being as involved. And it was always because I feel like I got caught up in like my perception or thinking, like, because at the time in high school, like, there's nothing lamer than quote unquote caring about something. You know what
Oh
I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so the fact that it's like, here are these like very sincere, endearing individuals who are like, I'm passionate about this thing and I'm going to do it, is now like the coolest thing you can be. Those are the people that we admire the most, are the ones who have like, singular hobbies and like are really invested in their craft. Um, and it was so funny because like Heroics 101 was like, I was just entering high school. You have like body image issues. I'm like, all right, I'm supposed to be shirtless, like
Yeah.
running,
Oh god.
running
Yeah.
through a field. I have to be like, really acting my ass off. And now it's like all that stuff is so fun to me. I like really treasure, having that.
Yeah.
Especially because I feel like I know so many people who, especially back then, would talk about all the movies they wanted to make, but then never got around to making a single one. Like, had all these cool ideas, but never
Mhm.
did anything.
Yeah.
And there was like
Yeah.
some quote, some like interview. It was like Denzel Washington or some actor or something. And he was basically just like, dreams without goals are just that. They're dreams, and they fuel disappointment, because if you don't have commitment, you'll never start. But if you don't have consistency, you'll never finish. Like, the act of doing is so much more important than like wanting to do anything. I think it's rare at such a young age to like actually follow through on everything you want to do.
Yeah. And also I remember we also got in the habit of letting things go. Like we didn't like to do it, but we would, like we are talking about all the things we did do, but there's also like, as we've been talking, been like, and we didn't do that. And we didn't do that. And that one didn't come through, like there's like 3 or 4 more episodes of work that you had, Will, that I remember really enjoying reading, but we never got around to making those,
There was the whole summer school thing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was tragic.
Yeah.
Like, with the hard drive failure being the final twist of the knife.
Yep.
Jeez.
Yeah, there's
and well, also just down to like, so many ideas or so many things that we wrote that we like tried to put together, but they didn't quite come together, or things that we've half shot and then never quite came back to,
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's part of it. Like, it was like we're talking now about like all like the really good stuff and like the things we actually did, but there's as many stories of us being like, that was a bad day, and
oh yeah, I mean, we failed a lot. I failed a lot, like, like that. I think that was a big thing, right? Like at a certain point we just kept getting back up, right? And trying again, which, I mean, at that age, with the type of people you go to high school with, that doesn't really happen very often.
Yeah, and I mean,
when you're down, people really like to kick you.
Oh yeah, and I gotta say, Will, I didn't really recognize this at the time because we were high schoolers, but like as an adult, looking at you and the way you put yourself out on a limb.
Oh yeah.
Not only just for your own sake of like wanting to do something that because you mentioned before we started recording that you're doing some comedy stuff right now, and like Heroics is not quite that, but it's on the path, right? It's on the path
of like,
you put yourself out on a limb there to do what you wanted to do, and also for us in a time when that was, and with a bunch of people who that was really hard for you to like do that with. And so like now looking back at as an adult, like I am impressed with like a certain amount of bravery as a kid, like because like I did not put myself out on a limb like that personally. It was not like that because weirdly, in retrospect, I realized I had like a bit of a shield in high school of like having gone through chemotherapy and whatnot. Like both I had like utter apathy for the vast majority of people's opinions, and then secondly, like not a lot of people like really wanted to like fuck around with me because of that too. So like I didn't have to be brave to do any of this, I just had to do it and enjoy it. So I'm just impressed, I'm impressed with 14-year-old you. I'm like, damn.
Yeah. I mean, like,
but like
endured a lot.
I bet. See, that's the thing, is like I don't even see it that way anymore. Like if I was gonna like give 14-year-old me any advice, it would be like enjoy it more, like lean into it more, do it even more. So
yeah.
So it's funny how all that stuff works,
isn't it?
Yep. Yeah.
Well,
if we were all in person, I'd say group hug, but we can do a virtual group hug across 3 different time zones.
Yeah.
I think that is a great note to end this week's episode on, which I think this might be one of our longest episodes.
Oh yeah, so. I was fully expecting that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Will, do you have anything to plug? Because like our other guests are not people who have things to plug, but I'm curious. You might have something to plug.
Yeah. I've got a couple things. I guess I could throw out. Obviously, listen to Dysology, a labor of love. I have been very fortunate to feature and guest star on many an episode, so you can always hear my voice there.
Will does really good work there, especially like
11 Jump Skates is hilarious.
So much of 11 Jump Skates and its humor also comes from Will. Just want to say, check out the Echo episodes or Signal to Noise if you and Bottled Cities if you want to see Will at like his absolute funniest.
We're all in fine form on those episodes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, other than that, like a lot of my comedy stuff is theater. It's like improv and stuff, so it kind of not a lot of it's online. But so if you're in New York City and you're involved in Squirrel Theater or anything in Midtown, I do a lot of shows and like classes there and stuff. But also, and this I've never really plugged before. This is kind of just lived in secret on my link tree in my Instagram bio. But I have a Substack where I post some like just like short stories and like poems and also cartoons that I draw and like short scripts that I write. And it's called Literature Imperfect. So that's on Substack.
How the fuck do I not know about this?
Yeah. I was gonna say I've definitely clicked on that link.
Okay, yeah, go.
I guess I haven't scrolled that far.
Yeah, feel free to subscribe. I post maybe like 2 things a month. But yeah, it's just like cartoons and like little writings of whatever. I've actually, Dane, you're listed as one of my recommended pages. The Man Who Speaks in Technicolor. If you go to my Substack and you see the Substacks that I recommend, you'll also find Dane's.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to go. Substack. I'm gonna have to go reciprocate and read this because I didn't know it existed. To be fair, I only got on Instagram like 3 weeks ago, so
that's true, which is huge for you.
I know. And you have 2 accounts now.
Yeah,
I have 2 accounts.
Yeah, you have Dane Fogdahl and then your other account.
Oh, maybe I'm. Oh, right. I made one just to follow my sister back when she was dancing, so that she could get enough followers to do influencing stuff and get like free point shoes and stuff. Yeah. Wow. So no, this is hilarious, but like I basically have to get an Instagram now because when I get Googled when I'm applying for like law internships and externships and whatnot, like something needs to come up that's normal.
Should I take down Dane Fogdahl the movie?
No, that's fine.
I remember I had to take down a bunch of photographs from Dane Fogdahl the movie because you were like, "Hey man, I teach. I can't have these photos of me on the internet."
Yeah. I'll
you in a tank top with a guitar.
I'll look up the movie and I'll think about it, but really I just need to look like a normal person, and a normal person has social media.
So that way, like when people Google Dane Fogdahl to hire you for a law firm, they don't see like My Mundane Supernatural Life where you're playing like a god who's caught in a love triangle with deities of different realms and parallel universes.
Yeah.
That's great.
People will only click the first few things, and I kind of need that to be like my website and my Instagram and call it good.
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, how much theater? You know what? We're gonna talk about that next week.
All will be revealed. Yeah.
All will be revealed. But yeah, thank you all so much for listening to Dane and Derek this week, featuring our really good friend Will Banks.
Say goodbye, Will.
See you guys.